But no, always learn from your mistakes. I can never say that I've ever had an absolute perfect photo shoot gathering, or there's always some kind of mess up. But just don't worry about it. Learn from it. Build from it. You're like, hey, you know, this is probably not a good spot to take photos because it gets super muddy. Or we tried doing a Naruto gathering one year, like 2008, and what looked like it was fine, and people started kneeling into the dirt and didn't realize the fact that it was all muddy. It was the grass, with the ground had soaked up so much water that a Naruto sat down and bent his knee and sunk right into the mud. So kind of scout your area too. Like here, you don't really have that issue. It's all inside, it's great. But some cons, it's all outside. Colossal Con, all outside. Colossal Con was ridiculous because we did a Final Fantasy gathering photo shoot and it was 100+ degrees outside. And someone kept pulling the fire alarm all weekend. So they're like, well, we can't do anything inside, it's too crowded. Oh no, the fire alarm went off a good 10, 15 times. And they have fire shutter doors. So when the fire alarm goes off, it locks off certain sections, like literally the panel door will lock down on a hallway and it will seal off an area. So, and the Kalahari out there is the size of a mall. It is massive. It takes forever to get to point A to point B. And especially if they lock off a section, you gotta go all the way around. So a lot of them got pushed outside in the heat and just scout out what costumes you want to wear to which one. So, are you familiar with the game Final Fantasy 15?
To an extent.
Okay, I cosplay as Noctis from there.
Oh, cool.
He wears all black. In the middle of the summer, all black is not comfortable. He doesn't have a summer version, let's put it that way. People are like, oh, but do the other variants. Well, I always cosplay as King Noctis in a full black suit, and everyone's like, sitting there in shorts and a t-shirt, man, it's hot outside, I'm sitting there roasting in a black suit, but it's not, I'm doing this for the photos, I'm doing this for the photos. Or the cosplayers that, there was a Misty from Pokemon cosplayer I came across 2013, 2014 here at Youmacon in November when it was snowing outside, wearing booty shorts and the Misty halter top. And I about come out of my mouth as I was walking up in khakis and a t-shirt. I about said, I'm freezing, and I saw her walking down the street in the middle of the night, literally shaking, and I'm like, you know what, I could suck it up, because if she's doing this out in the cold, just be aware of your weather surroundings too, whether or not it's going to be something that's going to be super hot, super cold. You don't want to get sick. I've also understood too through the years, take a breather, relax, take a deep breath. Your photos are going to look a lot better if you don't look like you're about ready to stress and have an aneurysm. There's so many cosplayers that put too much stress and tension into coming to these thinking, oh my god, it's the end of the world if my photos don't look perfect. No, I can take more photos. We can do this again. We could take a 5-minute breather if you want to. Because we're going to get to the point where we're talking about like trying to get private photo shoots. It's always nice having a friend that's a private photographer, because then you can do photos yourself. So say you don't have anyone come up for a photo shoot or whatnot, and you're like, well, I'd like to do a photo shoot with myself. Some people think, oh, that's a little vain, that's a little bias. Not really. It's really fun to have your own cosplay photos, especially if you're trying to do stuff for like Instagram or whatnot, and you want one that looks professionally done, but then you're like, what do I do? What do I look for? What do I shop? And a lot of people you'll see like, oh, every con you go to, there's always people like, who needs photos? I'll do 10 photos for 60 bucks and whatnot. And you'll get a good price sometimes, and you'll get a bad price sometimes, and you'll go like, oh, I'll have to go the $20 route and whatnot. And I've been a photographer since I was really young. My dad was a shutterbug, I've been a shutterbug. I'm very much in agreement of paying a fair wage for a fair amount of work. It does take a little bit of sifting through. There's a lot of photographers that'll go through and be like, oh, 20 bucks, I'll take all the photos you want. And I'm like, well, that's nice. That also means they're creating that much more work for themselves, and it also means that it's going to be that much longer for you to see anything.
Well, also, I'll take as many photos as you want, is here's the raw photo, it's not edited.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to be straightforward, mine is, if you want raw photos, I'll gladly take raw photos. Unedited, whatnot, I won't mess. I have a lot of friends everyone's over 18 in here, right? I'm not going to be weird or gross or anything. But
Now?
a lot of times I have in the past done freelance work for Cosplay Deviants and a couple others and Pixel Vixens, and a lot of people are like, I need a photo shoot set up, and I'm like, well, you know, you go through the proper channels. But it's just, you know, people are like, oh, it's kind of weird and whatnot. I will do 60 bucks, X amount, or take photos for an hour, but they're just straight raws. You edit them, you do what they want, because a lot of them want to edit it in the way they want to. And that's not bad sometimes if you have like Photoshop or if you want to mess with them the way you want. Or you get the ones that are like, it'll be 100 bucks, you get 4 edited photos, and I pick them. And it's like, no, that's too much. There was a photographer we came across that had a package. He was 500 bucks, 3 edited photos. Don't get me wrong, they looked insanely beautiful. I mean, he has business. I mean, if you can have the business for it, I mean, you can really just kind of charge what you want. But it also means the practicality of those who can't afford that are kind of screwed. I'm also a firm believer too that a cosplay photo should represent the cosplay, not I threw this very half-assed together and I'm just going to Photoshop the rest of it to make it look nice. Then that's not a cosplay, but you're just Photoshopping. I'm biased, but it's just one of those things. Find your friends to do photos. Start out with that. So like Nick here, he's got a nice camera. Don't just assume the fact that he's going to take photos. Ask politely. Politely is being nice. Often or not, say you can't afford 30, 40 bucks for a photo shoot set. Offer them pizza. Offer to put some gas in their car. Or if you're going to a con, like I'm taking photos for one of our friends this weekend, and she's all like, oh hey, I got a nice camera, but my boyfriend can't take photos very well. Not everyone can take photos. You have to kind of have an eye for framing and whatnot, and it's no offense against anyone, it's just, you know, not everyone can ride a motorcycle. I mean, you can get on it, think you can ride it all you want until you wreck it and realize you have to switch gears. I had someone who's like, you have to switch gears on a motorcycle? I'm like, yes. Yes, otherwise you're gonna screw it up really bad. And I'm taking photos for her, and it's like a little trade back and forth. I scratch your back, you scratch my back. And it's just a lot of give or take. Or then you'll eventually get into the field and you start seeing who's good at what they do, or who will actually get back with you about stuff, or expect if you're doing photos with someone who's gonna be doing like a con Saturday, it's gonna be a month to 2 months before you're gonna get your photos back. That's normal. Don't panic and don't think, oh my God, I'm not getting any photos. Have them send you a few of the raws, and then that'll kind of tide you over like, okay. One second. Oh, much better. Have them send a few raws to you. That way you can kind of see if the poses work. That way you're not putting all that work into there for something you didn't feel comfortable. Or have them show them to you after you're done. Like my friend Eddie Bono from Chicago does photos for me a lot. And really cool guy. I met him when he first started getting into it. I remember when he was 20 bucks for a session, and then he went to 50, then he went to 100. But that's because he was getting the business. He was actually a business liaison in downtown Chicago and would take people out for like the bowls and all the other stuff. They were the ones that like, oh, you're out on the town, we'll go take you out and take you to these places. And he just did photography on the side. But he got the business for it. And then it started going up, and I'm like, you gotta earn your paycheck. But he would do like 75 flat, half hour, I'll take as many photos as you want, and then he'd take about 2 months to get it back, and then he'd be like, extra 10 bucks for another person. And, I mean, you'll start to learn to read which ones are worth going for and which ones aren't. I mean, if it's nothing fancy or anything like that, just find a friend that's got a camera or a phone. I mean, heck, any current smartphones are shooting at 14 to 18 megapixels, and you might think that's not much, but that's actually insanely good considering that most digital cameras are 20 to 24 megapixels. I have one that's, my DSLR Nikon is a 24.8 megapixels, which means that it's that much harder to edit because it's that much larger to edit. So cell phones kind of get it nice in between. Have you ever heard of the YouTuber by the name of Markiplier? Yeah. We went to Markiplier's Welcome Tour down in St. Louis, and with my cell phone, I took some insanely beautiful photos from front row, just snapping photos, and it turned out really well. And I had people trying to argue with me that I didn't take it with my phone because we're part of a one of the Markiplier fan pages on Facebook, and you're like, oh, there's no way that you took this. This looks professional. I'm like, no, I took that with a Galaxy S6, and it's a phone.
So I wanted to let you know, he keeps mentioning RAW. If you don't know what that means,
It means the photos that are on it.
yeah, uncompressed too. So you're getting a huge file.
Yeah.
Instead of a JPEG, which would be about 8 megapixels, it's going to be about 55.
That was another thing I was going to mention too, is that if you're going to get raw images, the best quality they're going to come in, unedited. Never let anyone send them to you through Facebook.
Drive.
Yeah.
Google Drive, Dropbox, or a straight thumb drive. Because often or not, when I'll go do photos, I'll hand my photographer a thumb drive. That if they can't get back to me, they'll just mail it to me. Because if you send it through anything else, it's going to compress it and it's going to lower its quality like by 20%. Every time you email something, it drops 45% off of it. That's why you see a lot of these memes and photos and GIFs look like really bad and glitchy. It's because they've been copied and copied and copied and copied. No, I know. I mean, it gets to a point when you're aiming for that, but if you want a really nice cosplay photo of you, do you want it to look really grainy and digital, or do you want it to look really nice and crisp?
Depends on the cosplay.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
But yes.
But no, RAW is a really good way to go through it, or you can go for the compressed to save space, like back when digital cameras first came out, when RAW was unable to be done because it took up so much space. My friend Rory is a professional photographer, and he shot in RAW when it first came out, back when the biggest thumb drive you can, not the SD card you can get was, I think 8 gigs. Now it's much higher than that, but he had probably 10 of those on him because every 5-10 minutes he was switching out photos, and he's like, well, this one's full, and he'd snap in a new one. Now you can slap in a 128 gig SD card easily. And one of the best devices I can do with cameras too is make sure you find out what capacity it can take a memory card to. Just because they make a 200 gig SD card does not mean the camera can handle it. And you can fry your camera. Because if the camera is trying too hard to read through it, I mean, an SD card is just a hard drive. So it'd be like me putting, just think of it like a gas tank on a car. And it'd be like me putting a 50-gallon gas tank on a Ford Festiva. It's gonna drag the ground a little bit. So, this tiny bitch.
Let's put it on the roof.
She's so sleepy.
Only advice out there I'd offer, if you're working on trying to run a photo shoot, is maintain control.
Yeah.
One thing's gonna happen.
Do not be afraid to be assertive.
One person's gonna show up, and one of two things is gonna happen. They're gonna think you're not doing it their way, and they're gonna take over, or they're there to do their own little personal fantasy tour, and they'll want to do their own personal shits.
Yep.
Forget everybody else who's there. All the rubies and the whites is up front, that's it. But what about, no, them first. No.
Well, that was another thing I was going to get into, is how to properly position a photo shoot. So like one of the best things to do to start it off with is, all right, the Ruby photo shoot, we're going to do everyone from the series up here. So then you do the half moon and fit everyone up, and it's the most. And so that's, everyone starts off first, that way if people just want to do the group, then they can come for it and then you can leave. And then you'll start off with like, all right, we'll do this team, and then we'll do this team, and it's usually good to give everyone 30 seconds or to a minute, depending on your time. And at any time you're about ready to be done, you're like, all right, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all right, we need all the enter here, X person or whatever. And people are like, well, we want to do this. This is why it's always good to have someone on the side so they can start taking requests for the end. Always save like about 10 minutes at the end for requests, because sometimes we might forget stuff, because people are like, oh, I want to do this now. I want to do Septiplier or anything like
I want
that.
my fantasy ship that doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's the whole, we'll wait to the end and see if anyone's comfortable with that. When we used to do FMA photo shoots, we'd have people always like, we want Elric Sess, and I'm like, let's let the kids get out of here, please. Try and keep it PG-13 until the end of the photo shoot, and then announce out loud, you know, if anyone wants to do 18 plus, if they're comfortable, we ask that the kids leave. Because sometimes the adults want to do like some of the graphic fighting, or they want to do like, oh, let's get all smoochy and anything, but just make sure everyone has full consent and whatnot. It's cover your ass, basically.
Read the crowd, because some people will...
You can read the crowd.
People to do it. It's like, let's get you up here. No, if he doesn't want to, just tell him to stop.
But it's best to do everyone, particular groups. So like Naruto would be like the ninja teams, and then the villages, or the good guys, or the bad guys. And you'll learn to read it quick. And then have someone write down on a piece of paper when people start bringing requests, and write the order of which it came in. And be like, we'll try this if we have time. And then if people come in a little bit later, sometimes people will show up late to a photo shoot and say like another 20 Weiss cosplayers show up. We're like, all right, there's more Weiss, let's do another 30 seconds, let's get all the Weiss cosplayers up here so they can get their photos. Because sometimes people show up late. And it's fair that they should be able to get a photo. So then you get to the end and you've done all your little things, and then you start taking requests. Have them come up and ask you. You like pull the microphone out, it's like, all right everyone, if anyone wants to take a request, come up here, we'll write them down, and we'll try and get them done if we have the time. And then you go through them and give them like, man holding pizza. Let's take photos of the guy holding the pizza, or people piggyback riding each other, just safety, cover your ass, and write it down. Do you have any more questions? I mean, I'd like
Nothing really in particular.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, I'm sorry.
That's fine. There was like, at some cons that I've been to further east, like on the East Coast, really minor, there's been like one guy who I've seen at a couple of photo shoots who has kind of hijacked the shoot from the person who organized it.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah. Often they also put themselves front and center, but that's a different thing. Mostly it's like just the person who organized the shoot is not assertive enough, or just, I mean that's my criticism. They may have other circumstances that cause that, but either way, this guy routinely gets control of the photo shoots even though he's not the guy who organized them. So how would I deal with somebody like that?
That gets really tricky too, because if you're not the one running it and say you're attending it, so I always call those showbutters, because they're up there because I have to be the edgiest person ever and I have to run in front of stuff. And they're usually drunk too half the time. I would voice like, hey, you need to get down, people are being blocked behind you, or we can't get these people in the shot. I mean, be polite, but be firm about it. And if they're gonna ignore you, just ignore you. And then if they're gonna keep being a jackass about it, I would take their name as a badge thing and I would tell staff. Because they're ruining the photo shoot for everyone else who paid their money to come to this con to do this stuff. And conventions will remove them. I have seen it happen. Where you'll walk up to a staff member and like, hey, we got someone who's being disruptive at the shoot, or they're not letting others partake in it, and staff will go talk to them.
You'll also find a lot of times they'll be like, oh, we were aware, we just didn't know their name.
So take a picture. Take their picture, because you can't say, oh, it's Bill, and his badge said Waukesha. What's it look like? Oh, no.
Yeah, you definitely take a photo.
One of these outfits of 50 characters that are over.
But yeah, say like you're the one running the panel, and a guy walks up and starts telling everybody what he's going to do. You tell him, hey, get in the back or leave. If he says you can't do that, laugh in his face, because he has no authority.
I'd imagine that the microphone helps a little.
Yeah.
Good too.
It's really hard to argue with somebody who can shout in your face.
Yeah.
Don't unless you have to, but really quick shutdowns are just saying, hey, listen, you know, I'm running this because the con has me running it. So, you know, if you could knock it off.
Well, yeah, it's a lot of times you look at them and like, hey, I appreciate the input and whatnot, but I'm the one officially running the panel. If you want to give me some suggestions, we can try and do them.
Yeah, a lot of the times when this guy in particular, it's for like unofficial shoots. So,
That gets a little
I
tricky
don't
too.
have to- or whoever's running, I wouldn't have the clout of official sanction behind me.
Well, even with that, I wouldn't worry about that, because if he's still being a jackass, it's ruining it for others. The con can still step in, because it is still on the con grounds, and they're there to make sure the con attendees have a good time. And it's not his excuse to ruin the fun for you guys. It's, we had an example at the Ruby photo shoot this year at ASIN, where, are you familiar with the show Ruby?
To an extent.
Okay, well there's a couple characters in there that are drunks. So a lot of them like to bring fake things, no different than any Rick cosplayer walking around with flasks or multiple other people. So,
occasionally deal with those people that have actual alcohol, though.
oh yeah, a couple of the guests I sat behind on the stage had alcohol in their drinks too. So, one of them straight up is, I got booze in here, and I'm like, how am I not surprised? Some of them will actually walk out there with liquor during some of the shoots. You have to be careful of that because there's kids there and be like, hey, you know, I know you want to drink, but keep it professional, keep it PG. And I mean, it really just gets down to the point of they have to either respect you or not. Again, that's another situation you might have to talk to staff with. You might have to alert them, like, hey, someone's being belligerent or drunk. But we had a couple cosplayers and myself, and we're all pretending to have like liquor with us. We had like a couple flasks. I had like an empty Jack Daniels bottle that I filled with apple juice. And I'd done this at several other cons, and people thought it was funny and whatnot. And we were clinking cups and whatnot, and one of the people in charge of the shoot got really loud and belligerent about something. It's like, oh, people can't have that stuff up there. But they weren't shouting to everyone, they were shouting to me. And if you have to get someone's attention like that at a big shoot like that, it's really embarrassing getting shouted out of a huge group. If you ever have to do something like that, not everyone's going to know that there might be some rules because their excuse was, we posted this on such and such forum and you should know the rule. And I'm like, not everyone's going to know where you post these rules. You might want to make sure that before you like, this is the rules, we want it to be kept PG-13 and whatnot. If you ever have an issue with someone like that, very quietly and politely go up, kind of pause for it to stop, and tap them and whisper to them and says, hey, I know you probably don't have real liquor in there, but we want to kind of want you to put that down. We don't want anything that looks like it might be liquor. That's the more professional way. It's kind of like if you want to yell at something as you're a manager, you don't yell at them in front of the store. You take them back in the office and you talk to them. I've witnessed that at McDonald's. That was kind of embarrassing. But we went and reported that to the photo shoot gathering staff, and the photo shoot head was like, that's not professional. We'll talk to them about that. I was not trying to be malicious, but it's the whole like, that's not the proper way to do that. Because I can take stuff pretty well, but I don't think anyone else would have appreciated being pointed out in front of a group. So,
got any good examples of like good ground rules to have for a photo shoot?
Again, don't be afraid to be firm.
Ground rules for the cosplay.
Yeah, like
Oh yeah, you know.
you had the example of like maybe they posted on this forum.
Do not step on anyone else's cosplay. Watch your props. Do not bump into or touch anyone else. Some people really want their personal space respected. I don't care how much you think it is in character or for your ship. Do not hug and or glump someone without asking. Be very careful of what you suggest in this day and age. Years ago, I mean, you could pretty much do whatever you want. People are comfortable, okay with it. Not so much in this day and age. A lot of more people are weird and itchy and whatnot. I'm one of those ones that if you're gonna go have fun, go enjoy yourself, get your suggestions out. I mean, the worst is, hey man, it'd be really cool if you and I got a photo of each other hugging our characters in this, and you'd be like, well, I don't feel comfortable with it. I'm like, that's cool. You tried. Or you'd be like, that'd be awesome, let's go get a photo on that. I cosplay Markiplier, and I had a Jacksepticeye cosplayer come up to me. He's like, I don't know if you're into Septiplier or anything. I'm like, I'm okay with it, but I don't ship it, anything like that. He's like, okay, but can we get photos together? I'm like, yeah, I'd love that. And it was just, he wasn't playing or anything like that. Or it could be like, we did one time where it was one cosplayer and everyone else hid behind them and had their weapons all fanned out like a giant thing. And it's just a spur of the moment thing. I would love to get like a certain set of rules and whatnot, but it's just simply be respectful to the person, their costume, watch where you're going, don't hit them with your weapon, don't point stuff in people's faces, don't think it's edgy or funny to be like, oh, I'm gonna wave it in your face because someone might not like it and hit back. Some people are a little wired on caffeine, and I'm not denying or defending anything on that. Just be prepared that someone might try and be stupid at the panel or at the gathering. Cover your ass. That's the best way to put it. Ooh.
5 minutes.
Yes?
5 minutes.
5 minutes? 5 minute warning. Okay.
Blame off.
I'm gonna laugh if everyone shows up at 4:30. Is the panel here? Sure.
Was here.
Oh, I know.
So then for the recap, you've got the general idea of how
Yep.
shoot should go. Set it up, announce it if you have to.
Oh yeah, where are good places to announce things? I've seen a lot on Facebook.
Facebook.
Are there other places that I should be aware of?
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Be like, hey, I'm going to be at YouTube. Like, so since technically I'm one of the YouTube guests for this weekend, I threw a video out with all my information on my YouTube channel of where to meet me, where to get a hold of me. Because sometimes stuff changes and people are like, oh, I didn't have access to the website, but I follow you and I saw your video, and make it a 2-minute quick video. Some people came here and scoped out their locations when it got announced it lived locally, took photos of it and posted it. Hey, I'm running the Square Enix photo shoot and it's right here, and this is the photo of it. So you're like, oh, I know where that is, and I can walk right to it. Or when we were doing the Resident Evil photo shoot, very impromptu, last minute, this was very word of mouth. Every Resident Evil cosplayer we came across and says, hey, I love your cosplay, it's really cool. We're doing a Resident Evil photo shoot tomorrow at 7 at this location. Oh, I didn't know there was one. Well, there wasn't one planned, but we're doing one now. All right, cool, I'll be there. And about 2/3 of the people will show up. Some people are like, oh, I've got something planned or whatnot. A lot of people don't look at the websites. Word of mouth helps. So if you go around on a Friday and say your thing's on Saturday, find every cosplayer that's from that and be like, hey, did you know about such and such photo shoot on Saturday? What? No, I didn't. Check it out. It's here at this time, this location. And it really helps on that. But yeah, like social media, Twitter, and Instagram and Facebook both help. Definitely like the Youmacon page. Be like, hey, I'm doing this such and such thing. Don't forget, time got changed on it. It's right here. And that really helps too.
I would say any of the actual like convention exclusive pages too.
The Youmacon forum, the actual forum.
And
Not all
one person's
conventions
there,
are
they
forum.
might spread it too.
yeah, I'd be really careful. The forum gets bogged down really quick. I'm not bashing on forums. It's really clogged and it's really hard to like backlog and try and find stuff. So someone might have announced it 6 pages ago. Forums used to be really helpful at one time, but now we've got much quicker ease of access on stuff. Discord. Discord works really well. I don't mess with it, but this guy knows how to mess with Discord really well, and so does this gentleman here. So, any last questions?
Okay.
Yes.
I've been at several photo shoots that I've had to change location once everybody is actually there because either it's raining or just that location is really busy and they have to go to another place so that they actually have a room or something like that, or people show up when you're expecting. What's a good way to like make sure that people know of the changing location if they come in?
We've had to do this a few times with a couple different things. So like you'd be like, I'm gonna be on this dock for this outside and it's raining. It's always good to have someone left at the old location in a safe spot. That if people come up, you're like, oh, the photo shoot got moved down there. This comes into play of scouting your location for the convention. So you'd be like, all right, if this place doesn't work, always check out a rain delay one. Like one that's got a covering, or one that's got an area that you know you can go, or like a loading dock, or something that's covered, or a spot inside. There's been many years where we'll show up to a photo shoot area, like 3 or 4 years ago in Youmacon, and 3 or 4 of them got scheduled in the same spot, and the groups were too big. So we're just like, we migrated like a herd of cosplayers. Of course, if you're big enough, people will see where you are. Like, where's the, oh, never mind, they're over there, we're gonna go to them. So, yeah, it's just definitely scope a few locations out. So like, you've been here this year and last year.
And after about like, 20 minutes, then you can, anybody who came late probably has like...
Yeah, I would leave someone there for about 10 minutes and like to direct them, and then like if no one's there after 10 minutes, then I wouldn't worry about it.
And like I said, even in the initial post, to be like, this is where it is.
Yeah.
If it rains, this is where it'll be.
Yeah. Yes. You have bunny ears. Moist.
Alright, so, any other questions? Because it's like a master class for you.
That was really useful.
Another
I've been doing this for years. But basically, a lot of stuff that I try going to that no one really tries, I just step in and like, you know what, I want to do this. And I start trying to figure out the proper staff way how to do it, or the con attendee way how to do it. A lot of cons are a bit more regulated about it, and it's really nice. They're a lot better run than they used to be years ago. I remember when staff never interacted with them. They're like, oh yeah, whatever, just guys do your thing over there. And then stuff would go on and staff didn't care as long as you weren't burning the building down. Staff's like, yeah, whatever. People would climb on the dumpsters or climb on cars. There was a fiasco at Colossal Con this year where a bunch of very high-level professional photographers thought it would be cute to go take photos on the top of the loading U-Haul trucks that the dealers brought to go take the Sandusky Ohio, the Kalahari is out in the middle of nowhere. It's like literally it's a savanna out in the middle of the country. So you get up to a point and you just see nothing but country. And so people are like, oh, I want to get